Hola amigos, soy Robert Rojo y quiero darles la más cordial bienvenida al segundo podcast de Talking About Kennett Square, en español, hablando de Kennett Square. Hoy, Kyle Coleman y Rosa Moore estarán respondiendo importantes preguntas que realizarán algunos vecinos hispanos de Kennett Square. Y así, empezamos.
Sure, I'm Kyle Coleman. I'm the borough manager for Kennett Square. I've been here since mid-September, so coming up on about 6 months, yeah. And just excited to be here. This is, last month's episode was really great. I think we went through some good questions, and seeing these coming from the public is exactly what the borough wants. We want to engage, so just happy to be here.
Yeah. My name is Rosa Moore. I am the Vice President of Borough Council. I'm a nurse, and I have lived in the borough, 8 years, but I've been working in the borough for the last 15.
Mi pregunta para el Borough es, quisiera saber cómo va la consulta o la encuesta que se les está realizando a los hispanos sobre el tema del transporte aquí en Kennett Square.
So the survey that was sent out regarding the NBF was actually created by the Kennett Collaborative. So we're actually, I believe the survey is still open, correct,
Yep.
Doug? Sorry.
It's okay.
And so the Kennett Collaborative is actually collecting the information, and we would actually love for even more people, especially from the Spanish-speaking community in Kennett, to answer those questions.
Yep, it's part of our approach as a borough to try to get input, to try to move that development towards something that we all like.
Hola, esta es mi pregunta para el Borough. Hemos sabido de unas construcciones de apartamentos en Kennett Square. ¿Tienen conocimiento del precio y si serán accesibles para los hispanos?
So there has been some construction around Kennett Square. So I think the most obvious is probably in Kennett Township, which is right outside of the borough. I believe those will be townhouses, and I'm not sure of the price point there yet. There will also be construction on the western end of town, near the Rite Aid on State Street. And those will also be apartments. My understanding is that those will be market price. Now, unfortunately, I think the price of construction is very volatile right now because of the economic situation around the world at this point, and also due to the pandemic. So I'm not, what the price point is going to be is very much dependent on that.
I think that's a challenge that a lot of people are dealing with. It doesn't mean it's not important, but it's just a challenge. I think a real bright spot coming out of the last council was Red Clay Manor.
Yes.
Which are affordable units for seniors, and that's right in the borough. So that's, in spite of the market driving prices up, that's a really great win for the borough. And that's under construction now, with opening set for sometime this spring, I think either May or June.
Yeah, very soon, which is exciting.
Yep.
Esta es mi pregunta para el Borough de Kennett Square. Para nadie es un secreto que hay muchos niños hispanos con necesidades especiales. ¿Existe algún programa para ayudarlos?
So the borough doesn't specifically have a program for that, mainly because the borough's programs as the government tend to have more to do with things like parking. However, one of the things that the borough does want to do is make sure that our parks and our green spaces are accessible to all people in the community, but I think especially for kids with special needs, because there are things that are not accessible to them. The other thing that the borough does is that we do support nonprofits in town, and some of those nonprofits do serve children with special needs, and we do try to make sure that we do fund programs for those groups.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're trying to really do the things that we do really well, but we're only able to do that because of all the great nonprofits that we have supporting us and doing the things that they do. So for people that are interested, I would really check out Kennett school districts. They have a great website and they have some great resources. A parent could talk to their teacher. You would know that they really have some great resources to different nonprofits that work on that specifically.
Y mi pregunta para el alcalde del Borough es sobre qué planes en el futuro tiene para construir viviendas a un buen precio para los hispanos que sean dignos de tener su propia casa, porque las rentas están muy elevadas.
That's an excellent question. And honestly, it's something that the borough and the borough council has struggled with in the last couple of years. It is a huge priority for us. So the answer is currently not yet, but does that mean never? Absolutely not. It is something that we are working with amongst ourselves as a group. We want to set up parameters with developers. We want to make it an affordable place to live, because having a place to live for people to raise their families, to grow old in, that's what makes Kennett special, and we want to keep that.
Yeah. I mean, just for what it's worth, I've been here 5 or 6 months. The mushroom drop and the holiday parade, some of these things that are accessible for everyone. Really impressive how much people care about the town. And so, at least from my vantage point, if we can encourage more affordable housing, that's a way to make sure that the character of the community stays this way. So I know it's a priority. I know even in our next meeting with the discussion on NVF, a good chunk of that is, how do we try to encourage some affordable housing out there? Yeah. It's a challenge, but it's certainly something that I've heard from every member of council as a priority.
Hemos visto que los trabajos de la nueva librería avanzan rápidamente. ¿Para cuándo sería la inauguración?
So construction, si Dios quiere, will be finished in February 2023. Everything changes, right? But that is when the library is slated to be open to the public, and I think we're all very excited. I mean, and that kind of rounds out some of the ways, for instance, that we serve, that we try to be accessible to everybody in the community, including, for instance, children with special needs, or Spanish speakers, people who are looking for their GEDs. Like, we have worked very hard to support the library in a lot of different ways, because we know it will be a resource for our entire community.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. It's a great project for all those reasons. Yeah, it's really exciting. And to not have construction is always exciting.
Mi pregunta para el buró es a los pequeños comerciantes que sufrieron grandes pérdidas por la pandemia del COVID-19 y aún están tratando de salir adelante, ¿pueden recibir algún crédito por parte del buró?
That's an excellent question. So at the very beginning of the pandemic, and I want to say even through last spring, we were able to give out a significant amount of money through the Revolving Loan Fund, which is run by the borough. And most of those loans we were able to disperse without any interest, and with a very lenient payback period. So we had to take a break with the Revolving Loan Fund until we found a new borough manager, and now Kyle's here. And so we're looking to restart the Revolving Loan Fund again. So part of that is, there is a fund there is money in there. That money in part depends on the funds that are paid back to the borough from businesses that we have loaned money to. But we also have been in the past been able to utilize grants through the federal and state governments to help our small businesses.
And we will definitely get that started back up because that,
it got many doors open.
It did, and it's rare for a town of our size to have that kind of a program in place. So definitely want to keep that going.
Esta es mi pregunta para el Bureau. ¿Saben por qué cerró el hospital de Jennersville y si volverá a funcionar?
So the last question was about Jennersville Hospital, and that the closing of the hospital I know has had huge effects on our community. And the question was why it had closed. So without going deep into details, but it was a question of financing. It had been taken over by one entity and then another, and I think the finance issue became very complicated. Now, I do believe that there is a chance of it reopening. I know that the courts recently ordered Tower Health, which is the entity that owns Jennersville right now, to sell it again so that it can become a usable facility once more. So I'll keep my fingers crossed. I mean, everyone in the community is feeling the loss of that facility.
It's one of those rare things where it feels like everyone is on the same page. Like there really isn't a partisan divide. There's not a state rep versus another. Like everyone is on board that we could, we really do want those to stay open. However it is that happens. I mean, I know that quite a few county departments are working on that really hard with some real resources behind them.
Yep. We all need healthcare.
Yeah.
We all want to stay healthy.
We've learned.
Yes.
Vamos con otra importante pregunta. ¿Saben ustedes cuáles son las estadísticas actuales en Kennett Square sobre el COVID-19? ¿Ha disminuido?
So, thankfully we've had, over the last 4 weeks, a pretty big decrease. So I couldn't, the county doesn't do percentages for the borough itself, but I can give you the percentages for the entire county. And so 1 month ago, we had a positivity rate, and a positivity rate is the percent of positive tests in the community per week. So 4 weeks ago, it was 21% for our county. And as of yesterday, it was 6.9%. So it's quite a big drop. And what, coming from a public health perspective, what we're looking for is a number that is below 10%, and we've finally reached it. And the other thing is we still do have a rather high number of individuals who are positive for COVID, but again, it's dropped by 3/4 at this point. We were above 500 people per 100,000 4 weeks ago, and we are now at 100 people per 100,000. So things are looking really good, thankfully.
And how is it, just to kind of dig into it more, you're seeing this day to day, like, have you felt a change recently?
I have. So, I'm a school nurse, so I'm kind of, we kind of ride out the waves in terms of the community sort of very viscerally. And I will tell you, in the last 3 weeks, I have not only not seen any of my students test positive, I am not hearing about their family members testing positive either, whereas starting right before the holidays, it was, I think, every family in the school had at least one positive case. And unfortunately, what happened with the Omicron variant is, I'm sure you're all aware, is once one person gets sick, everybody gets sick. So the fact that I haven't had a positive case in 3 weeks is pretty great, and I think pretty reflective of our community. Doing well in that regard.
Esta pregunta tiene que ver con el tránsito. Nos preocupa mucho las altas velocidades de los automóviles en las calles del casco histórico de Kennett Square. ¿Cuándo van a tomar acciones para evitar un accidente?
You know what, I thought that was a great question, and I've observed it too. So I think there are a couple of things. Like, one, we're seeing We're probably seeing more traffic because of the construction, and I think because there is more traffic, people are in a greater hurry. So, unfortunately, the borough is always going to be behind that particular, like one step behind the community in that. But I think our police officers are aware, and I know that they do a good job with, keeping track of people who are speeding, particularly down residential neighborhoods. I would also suggest that people come to our public safety meetings and bring that up. A really good example of that is that there were many complaints from the community about the speed issue on 82 coming into town, coming from the Unionville side. And what the borough did is that we found funding, I think it was DOT, Department of Transportation,
Probably, yeah.
And we were able to build that median, which slows traffic without looking really ugly. So it's attractive, but it also does actually slow traffic in a meaningful way, and oftentimes in a way that is better than a stop sign. I think the other thing we're doing, because people also speed coming down State Street, like when you pass Pneumatic Pies and you go past Liberty Place, people go really fast down there. And it's scary as a pedestrian, right? Because they're coming down a hill and you might be invisible. And I know that Mayor Fedek and our public safety team are looking for ways to improve pedestrian safety there.
Yeah, no, it's funny how these questions track things that are going on, which is good to hear.
Well, it's better than
right.
not.
So Mayor Matt brought this up at our last public safety meeting, which is basically a combination of police, fire, EMS, and public works, so road crew. And just an interesting anecdote on it. We were talking about, there's an understanding that we need to slow down traffic with speed bumps or speed tables, which are essentially like flattened out speed bumps. We need to have pedestrian crosswalks and lights. Like if you go into Westchester at night, there are blinking lights. Mm-hmm. But what's funny about it is that there are different regulations that the state will allow. So I may be losing people here, but that's what we're in the process of. We found some in Florida actually that feel really good to drive over, that slow people down, and that don't cause undue wear on our ambulances and fire trucks. So expensive equipment that we don't want to break down. So we're trying to get PennDOT to review that particular model to approve it. So it's one of those things that feels like it's more complicated than it needs to be, but we're trying to get those in, and then the idea is get one in, test it, and if it works and everyone likes it, do that in different areas so it's consistent, so people can kind of learn how to use it and get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Esta pregunta tiene que ver con la importante calle State Street. Tiene muchos muros, tiene baches. ¿Existe por parte del Borough algún programa? ¿Van a reparar esta calle tan importante?
Yeah, so the short answer, or the question was, okay, there's a bunch of potholes, and when do they get fixed? There was one maybe a week ago in front of the library that was noticeable. Yep. We sent a message to the library. They had it fixed by the end of the day. So they're really responsive with that kind of thing. The biggest challenge we run into is, depending on what road in Kennett Square you're in, it's either a borough road, a state road, or it's somebody else's road, but because someone's doing construction like the library, they take ownership of it. So that's honestly the biggest issue we have, is that we can't just ask one of our employees to go fix it. Because if we could, we do. And it's almost daily that we have a crew out there trying to find those things to fix. But honestly, this is true of every town, but the biggest challenge is it's this person's or this entity's authority to do it. You have to kind of work through the channels for them to get it to do it. So hopefully, if it's a borough road, it should get fixed really quickly. And you should always feel welcome to come to Borough Hall, call Borough Hall, email us, send us a letter, tell somebody. If you see something, just tell us and we will go fix it. And if it's not our road, we'll find the right person and ask them to fix it. Well, just thank you again to Connecticut Radio. It's the second time I've done it. You've been really helpful. Just kind of, as I back away from the mic, you helped me go through that technical part of it. Thank you to Rosa. Been really welcoming as I've come into the borough and into the job, and for coming on here and doing this. And then just to the people watching, continue to give us feedback, give us comments. It's the reason we're doing this is we're trying to get feedback and comments. We're trying to reach the entire borough community. So find a way, whether it's a comment on here or reaching out to the borough some other way, find a way to tell us what we can be doing better or doing.
And I just echo that. Thank you to Connecticut Radio for having me. Thank you to Kyle for coming on and taking on the job of borough manager. Thrilled to have you. And, just to echo what he said, we want to hear what you have to say. Queremos oír lo que ustedes tienen que decir. Tus comentarios, tus opiniones son muy importantes para nosotros y quiero que vengan a nuestras reuniones de Borough Council, a las reuniones de reuniones públicas, porque tus voces son importantes. Gracias.
Sí.
Gracias por ver este podcast. Suscríbanse a este canal y denle like para seguir realizando este importante e informativo programa. Hasta el próximo Talking About Kennett Square. Bye.